Hare Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Vishesha Shunyavadi Pashyate Adeshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Seeking blessings from all the assembled devotees. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So we are starting with the third shower of nectar in Madhurya Kadambini by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So this third shower is called Anartha Nivritti, cleansing the material impurities. So devotional activities, Bhajana Kriya, produces Anartha Nivritti, or the destruction of bad qualities that obstruct the progress of bhakti. So Artha means something that is meaningful. Anartha means something which is unwanted. And Nivritti means cleansing, like getting rid of. So Anartha Nivritti just means like getting rid of all that which is unwanted, undesired, right? That's what it means. So there are 4 types of anarthas based on the origin. So what are they? Let's take a look at that. So the first one is dushkrita, which is previous sinful activities. So we have already discussed about this, right? So any sinful activities, we have been in this lifetime, like so many lifetimes we have taken, and we have done so many things in the past lifetime which we don't even remember. We have done pious activities, we have done sinful activities. So this one is the duskrata, which is the previous sinful activities. And it talks about the 5 types of kleshas, right? The 5 types of kleshas which we already talked about. If you remember, what were they? It was avidya, which was ignorance. Then we talked about asmita, which is false ego. Then we have the raga, which is attachment to material desires. Dvesha, which is the hatred and aversion. And then we had the last one, which was abhinivesha, which is long-standing obsession for past lifetime with material things, and also the fear of death. So these are the 5 types of kleshas, and these are all happening from lifetime after lifetime. We have been doing this, right? So these are the first type of anartha which we have. So this needs to be cleansed, right? In the bhakti process, this is not going to be helpful for us. So we have to be, so that's going to be worked on. The next one is sukrata, which is coming from previous pious activities. So remember, the difference here is that when we are doing this, the pious activities, one may question, right? What's wrong with pious activities? This is in the mode of goodness. So how does this become an anartha? That's the question. Frequently it comes actually. And this was one of the question also where Maharaj answered during his visit, right? People always think, right, why can't I am giving charity, I'm helping the poor, I'm doing all these different activities, right? Everything. So what's wrong with that? But the difference in here is that we are trying to do all of this independent of Krishna. And we are putting ourselves at the center of this activity. Like in the sense, if I did a donation, or if I went to the food shelter right there and I did this activity, then I am thinking that I am the one who did this, and I want the fame, I want everything, publicity, that I did all of this stuff. And you will see very frequently, right? Whenever people do any kind of activities, immediately, like they are posting on Facebook and this and that, because they want the recognition that, look, I am so good. I'm doing all these kinds of activities, philanthropy, right? Immediately you will see like this big picture frame go up on the wall. Okay, this person donated so much and what all that stuff. So This previous pious activities is because the focus there is bhukti and mukti. Like we really want to enjoy. That's what it is. Enjoy in the heavenly planets and enjoy all of that. So that's why this sukrata, this pious activities becomes an obstacle in the path of bhakti. Then we have aparadodhota, which is from offenses against the devotional service, which is also the main primary one is nama aparad, right? So here it talks about that the anarthas arising from offenses arise specifically from the nama aparad. So there are several aparadhas, okay, and this is mentioned in Hari Bhakti Vilas in detail. It gives like a whole list of items that could be committed as an offense, okay. So seva aparad, dham aparad, vaishnava aparad, and then of course even the deities, right? You know that also can be an aparad. So there's a various amount of seva aparad. So the seva aparad offering offenses in deity worship such as entering the temple with shoes on or in a vehicle are in themselves not a direct cause of anartha for seva aparad, do not usually have effect on the real devotee, because by constant service, by chanting the holy name and by recitation of specific verses that have the power to cancel the effect of seva aparad, the fortunate attentive devotee produces daily destruction of effects of these offenses. So what it means is any of the other offenses that is caused in seva, the holy name has the power to nullify all of those. So the holy name is the topmost, like seva, aparad, all of those. If we take the holy name seriously and we chant offensively, it can nullify all of that. But however, see the next sentence. This is page 21. However, if one is careless, thinking he can take advantage of the protection afforded by the above measures, his seva aparad becomes nama aparad and anartha that will obstruct his progress. He is guilty of the nama aparad of committing sin on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. So remember our 10 offenses, we went in so much detail with the nectarian ocean of the holy name. So one of them was committing offenses on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord, right? So what happens is when we know that we now by this time we understand, right? All of these offenses, seva, aparad, and everything can be nullified by chanting the holy name of the Lord. But does that mean that we can continue to do that offense? No, we should not. It cannot be like, okay, let me do this one thing and then I will just go chant the holy name and it's going to be nullified. We cannot do that because that itself is a huge offense against the holy name and that cannot be forgiven. So let's talk about the difference also, right, between the sin and aparad. We talked about this, right? This is the sinful activities. The first and the second was the sinful activities and pious activities. And now we are talking about offenses. So the sins are activities done under the influence of bodily conception, which is false ego, right? When we are doing things under the bodily conception, that's considered sin. And remember, sin are easily, it's like the moment sun comes in, the fog gets dissipated. Similarly, with the bhakti process, sins are all eradicated. And we saw that, right? Kleshagni and Shubhada. When we start with the devotional process, immediately the sins are taken care of. Now, the offense, Krishna, his devotees, holy name, and spiritual abode, they are all spiritual. So, considering that which is spiritual to be material is an offense. See, this is very important, devotees, right? Considering that which is spiritual to be material is the offense. And what will happen is this can cause one to lose bhakti completely. Like it uproots. Remember, bhakti is like the bhakti rata beej, right? It's like a creeper. So with this offense, it completely uproots the creeper. Completely, we can lose it. Or even the leaves, like completely like the plant can get dried up, right? So that's the problem here. So we have to be very careful with the offense. And we went over all, we know the 10 offenses, we went over all of those in as I said, the earlier book, we have done that. So we just have to be very careful and do not take things for granted when we are in this Krishna conscious process. See, that's the thing, right? Before we come into bhakti process, what are we doing? Sins, correct? That's what we do because we don't know. We are acting on the bodily platform. So we do commit sins. So we don't commit offense at that time because we haven't entered into the bhakti process. But we come into the bhakti process, that's when the offenses start because now we are doing the sevas. We are in direct relationship now. We are every day we are communicating with the devotees, right? So can you imagine? So any of those offenses that comes, that is what is going to be having like a big obstacle. And believe me, like in the path of bhakti process, for us, this is the biggest thing that we have to be careful about, committing offenses. And here is the explanation, right? Especially Vaishnava Aprad and all of that. But as I said, all in all, everything, the topmost is the holy name. Because all of these can be mitigated by chanting the holy name purely. But if we started doing offense against the holy name, then yeah, then there's no more help with that. So very careful to be doing that. And then committing sin on the strength of the name means committing sin on the strength of all actions of bhakti, not just the name. So remember, whenever we are saying aparad, it is really referring to the topmost aparad of the holy name, Nam aparad. And even when we are saying committing sin on the strength of chanting the it includes all of the bhakti process when we are doing that. So they all destroy the effects of sin. Even according to Dharma Shastra, scriptures dealing with the codes of Dharma, if one willfully commits sin on the strength of prayashchita, remedial measures for commission of sin, then the effect of the sin will not be destroyed, but rather increased. If I'm intentionally committing sin on the strength of chanting the holy name or on the strength of bhakti process, guess what? My sin is going to increase further because now I have the awareness. The last section, the last step of anartha is bhakti utta, which comes from imperfectly performed bhakti. So we'll look into more details on all of these again. But these are the four major type of anarthas that we have to be careful about. And